Julia Ainsley, any reaction coming in for William Barr, whose short legacy there so far really is taking the 23-month-long Mueller investigation, spinning it as it came out, and afterward being quite negative and derogatory about its findings?
Strong reaction from the Attorney General, Nicole. I'm just reading this as it's coming in, but the Attorney General is already saying that this report really questions the legitimacy of the investigation, which is not what the Inspector General said. He said the Inspector General's report.
Where does that come from? From where?
I'll read you his words, Nicole. He says the Inspector General's report now makes clear that the FBI launched an intrusive investigation of a U.S. presidential campaign on the thinnest of suspicions that, in my view, were insufficient to justify the steps taken. That sentence alone shows you that the Attorney General is disagreeing with his Inspector General. And the top line that we're all learning today, which is that there was no evidence of political bias in opening this investigation. And the only area where the Inspector General is questioning the mistakes that were made have to do with a FISA warrant that was not critical to the investigation in the first place. So very strong reaction from the Attorney General coming in.
The first page of a report put out by his Justice Department says this: the decision to open Crossfire Hurricane and 4 individual cases on current and former members of the Trump campaign, George Papadopoulos, Carter Page, Paul Manafort, and Michael Flynn, the early investigative steps taken, and whether the openings and early steps complied with Department and FBI policies. He finds no wrongdoing there. I mean, I guess what's so stunning is to stand in front of that building and read a statement from an Attorney General refuting a document from his own department. What explains that, Julia?
Well, you have to think about where the Attorney General stands now. He is someone who just appointed John Durham, the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut, to do a criminal investigation into this very same matter, Nicole. So the Attorney General wants to look at what is being exposed today as something to justify that investigation and to try to, kind of build a case for what he has said. This is the same Attorney General who said that he believed there may have been spying on the Trump campaign. That is not anywhere in this Inspector General report. If I could, I'd just like to read the next line of this, too, because he keeps making this case. He says, it is also clear that from its inception, the investigation, the evidence produced by the investigation was consistently exculpatory. I think you could read 430 pages of the Mueller report to show that it was not all exculpatory evidence, that there are a lot of very difficult legal decisions that were made along the way. But this Attorney General is making no lines blurred when it comes to how he views this Inspector General report and how he viewed this entire investigation from the FBI through to Mueller's conclusions.
Help me understand this, Frank. The Attorney General disparages and does not believe in the Robert Mueller investigation, 23 months long, guilty convictions, guilty pleas by Mike Flynn, by Paul Manafort, by Roger Stone. The American Attorney General does not believe his own department's Inspector General report. I think if there's reason for concern today, it's in sort of what is the evidence that he's looking at the facts?
Well, he's choosing to ignore the facts, and what he's actually choosing to do is look at possible necessity of policy and procedure changes. Because Isn't
that in here too? Doesn't the IG support?
What I'm seeing here, for example, in the report is reference to the fact that, wow, the FBI actually doesn't have any written policy on investigating a president and his campaign, so they went with the policy that they had, and they complied with it. They comported with existing policy. So what I think you're going to hear is a steady drumbeat now is saying, the FBI's got to rewrite policy. They shouldn't be looking at a campaign. That's terribly intrusive. Well, yeah, it's intrusive, but they followed the rules. There was not misconduct in opening and conducting the cases. In fact, in one instance I'm reading here, it finds that the FBI actually went above and beyond existing policies. So, for example, apparently somebody wore a wire. Some cooperating source wore a wire against somebody in this investigation. And FBI policy says a field supervisor can approve that on a squad level. They went all the way to the assistant director of counterintelligence to approve that wearing a wire. So you're going to see evidence in here of extra rule following, but you're going to see the White House and the AG say, I don't like the policy of this. I don't like the smell of investigating a campaign. And I'll ask them this. Would you have liked it if it was Obama being investigated? Or do you not like the policy because it's your guy being investigated?
And I just, I guess I'm old enough to remember the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, and I don't remember a single Republican ever going on the record and saying they didn't support the idea of investigating a person running for president. Yeah. So again, it's certainly a legitimate debate to have as a country. How do you investigate a campaign where there's suspicion of wrongdoing? But it's just mind-boggling that this is the second years-long investigation into the president's campaign that Barr doesn't believe.
Well, I understood Julia Ainsley to say that the Attorney General characterized the standard as insufficient in my view. So to Frank's point, it's not that they didn't comply with their guidelines. It sounds more like the Attorney General just doesn't like the guidelines with which they complied.
Did he complain about them when they were applied to the Hillary Clinton campaign?
I don't know him to have ever complained previously about the guidelines. But this is a really important point. Let me just read from the report. The FBI has something called a Domestic Investigations Operations Guide. That is one of the two main documents that tells the FBI what it can do and when it can do it. They also have Attorney General guidelines that have the same purpose. Using those two documents together, the FBI is instructed on the propriety of investigating and opening investigations at certain times. The standard is purposefully low. In other words, the threshold. The operations guidelines provides for two types of investigations, preliminary and full. A preliminary investigation may be opened based upon, quote, any allegation or information, end quote, indicative of possible criminal activity or threats to the national security. It's purposefully set low. Why is it purposefully set low? Because you can't investigate a case before you investigate a case. You open the case, I should better stated, you can't know the results of an investigation before you open the investigation. You set the threshold low, you use all the lawful tools at your disposal, and then you make a determination whether or not you can charge someone with a crime or you have some counterintelligence matter that you have to act upon. It's set low for a purpose. The Attorney General apparently doesn't like that. He has the authority to change it, but you can't criticize the FBI for following its guidelines.
Apparently you can, if you're Attorney General Barr. But
you can't faithfully and honestly criticize the FBI for following its guidelines.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.